Hey everybody, welcome back to Tea Time
Yay!
with both of us here at, I'm Dr. Smith, of course, from Accomplished Health and Wellness, and this is Heather Fiore from Free State Nutrition. And it's been a couple weeks.
It has, yes.
Did you have fun on your trip?
I did. Yeah, we had a good time. There was a lot of driving. We clocked 57 hours of driving.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
driving.
But
I saw some of your videos that you were doing.
Yeah,
They
I
were
figured I'm in the car. I might as well do
right?
something productive.
Yeah, I like them.
Yeah.
So today we are doing sweet tangerine.
Mhm.
We need some energy because school's starting this week, and you know that's crazy.
Indeed.
So I like these Yogi brands. There it is, Yogi. I like them because they have these little saying things. And so mine says, every beat of your heart is a rhythm of your soul. That's pretty nice pictures.
If you do anything out of sheer compassion, you will never be wrong.
Oh, that's good. That is nice.
Yeah, it's a nice little reminder.
Yeah, so I got out I meant to get out the picnic mugs.
Yes, that one's here.
So mine
Get a little Christmas.
Mine is the Christmas picnic mug. So
it's stripy.
I'm ready for the cold weather to come because I hate this hot heat. Anyways, this one I like. So today, right, we are going to be talking about diabetes.
That's right.
The nutrition side of diabetes, right?
Yes.
So I just thought maybe I would mention, how do we diagnose diabetes? That's a good way to start. So there's two different types of diabetes. There's type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. And then there's actually like a subcategory of the type 2 diabetes. There's adult onset type 1 as well, because usually you'll get that when you're younger, but there's also adult onset type 1. So there's another type of type 1.
Yeah.
But then type 2, there is type 2 that is non-insulin dependent and type 2 that's insulin dependent. Sorry, I had a brain fart. But then, you know what we're actually getting is now we're getting kids with type 2.
Yes.
So there's going to be a third category that is child onset type 2 or adolescent onset type 2.
Yeah, I don't know if they're calling it that, but you know what?
But I bet you they will.
But there's also like, I don't know if they call it type 1.5 or like 1 and 2, because I used to work in a children's diabetes center and we would have kids that had type 1, but then as they entered adolescence, they got insulin resistant, and now they've got some elements of type 2.
Oh,
yeah.
So would they get?
Like they get some metformin, and they would have like really high insulin requirements because of their insulin.
Wait, so they would be diagnosed with type 1?
Mm-hmm. They would have type 1, like they need insulin.
Right.
But then as they enter adolescence, you know, maybe they're
getting metabolic syndrome.
Yeah.
So they're getting, interesting.
Insulin resistance on top of their type 1.
So they're like type 1/metabolic probably. So anyways, diabetes, you know what that shows? We don't know the full story.
We don't.
We always think that it's an insulin issue, but it might not even be an insulin issue, maybe. Maybe it's a sugar storage issue. You know?
Yeah.
You can only beat a wall so hard before it if you beat a cinder block wall with your hand, it never crumbles, so just break your hand.
Right.
But you know, if you're have so much sugar all the time, and then you can't store it anymore, it's troubles. So how do we diagnose? So type 1 is funny. A lot of times type 1 happens after a virus. And the thought behind that is that your body's fighting a virus, and then it's presenting antigen to the antibodies. So antigen is like the proteins, like these little arms that the white blood cells will go around and present, right? And so the antigen is the protein from the whatever it broke down, the virus, right?
Yeah.
So presents these antigens for the white blood cells to come and mount their immune response and create antibodies to. And the thought is that maybe there is antibody production to your pancreas because the proteins look similar. That's what's being produced. And then it fights your pancreas, and then you can't all of a sudden have insulin.
Right.
Right.
And we've seen like there's kind of like a stepwise, decrease in the insulin production for these kids with type 1. Like they get these viruses and they get less and less until the straw that breaks the camel's back is this one last time they get sick and like nothing left, and then they're in DK.
Yeah, that's scary.
It is.
So type 1 is kind of an interesting booger, but type 2 is the one that, and you can be insulin dependent or you can be insulin non-insulin dependent with type 2. Type 2 tends to be people that are overweight. And that tends to run in families. And it's really, honestly, it's because you eat the way that you grew up eating. Unless you learn something different. And so when you're overweight, you tend to be taking in more carbs. And those carbs get converted and broken down into sugars, and then you become insulin resistant, and it's not working anymore. And you need medicine. There's lots of medicines. A lot of times type 2 we are non-insulin dependent first, and then they'll, at most type 2s, and I tell all my patients this, if you're a type 2 diabetic, by the time you die, you will most likely be insulin dependent.
Right. Yes. I think it's a really important thing to tell people.
Yes.
It's a progressive disease.
It is. And people are like, I'm good as long as I'm not on that insulin. It's like got this bad reputation.
Right, like you're a failure.
Yeah, but that's just progression of your disease. So the main goal is to keep the progression from going. We want to halt it, or we want to, you can actually, like, if people that are caught early, if they're caught early and they make lifestyle changes, a lot of times you're still diabetic, okay? You're not all of a sudden not diabetic.
Right.
And if you want to say, I'm not diabetic anymore, then you have to say, I have a predisposition to diabetes.
Right.
Because just because you're not on medicine anymore does not mean that your lifestyle modification is not treating your diabetes. Okay?
Very good point.
And you still have it because you had it. You just treated it. So there. I hear that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm not. You know what I love is when people go, I got that sugar diabetes. What other kind is there? I'm not sure.
Yep. I heard that one.
Sugar diabetes. I love it. Okay, so how do we diagnose diabetes? A lot of people are always asking me about, like, the A1C. What's my A1C? We don't diagnose with A1Cs. We follow with A1Cs.
Right.
We don't diagnose with A1Cs. So a fasting blood sugar of greater than 126 is considered diabetic. Or two random blood sugars greater than 200. Random. Random means it's not fasting. It's just a random in the day. Okay? So fasting is nothing to eat for 8 hours. So like a morning blood sugar of 126 or two randoms of 200 or more. Then you're diabetic. We say that if your A1C is greater than 6.5, then you're most likely diabetic, but then we would start doing those other sugar tests. And there's a few other ones. You can also do like a 2-hour glucose tolerance test and things like that. So anyways, now we know how to diagnose it. And then we use our A1Cs to follow, right? So when you're first diagnosed, you want your A1C less than 6.5. But don't hold on to that number. Okay? People, as you get older, we do not want your A1Cs that low. So if you have had long-standing disease and any advanced complications, we want it less than 8. And for anyone that has like a short life expectancy, it's less than 8.5. So we don't really I have to keep them really strict.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is that as you get older, you get more predisposed to, I mean, your metabolism is different, everything is different. How you're going to metabolize the medicine is different, and you get more predisposed to hypoglycemic episodes, and those are actually even more dangerous than having the higher ones. But in kids, we want 7.5, less than 7. So now you know. So I get this all the time. How many carbs do I need?
Right.
What am I supposed to say?
Well, there's a range, of course, right? Because if you're like a 100-pound woman or a 200-pound man, or a 300-pound man, like you're going to have different needs. But like, let's just say like on average, okay, 45 to 60 grams of carb at a meal.
35.
No, 45.
No, 45. 45 to 65.
60
okay.
At a meal.
Got it.
Okay, and then you might have carbs
at every
in between.
meal? At any meal?
Yeah, like 3 meals a day of 45 to 60 grams.
Okay.
And obviously those are averages. And of course, if you're on insulin, depending on the type of insulin you're on, that might dictate things.
Right.
Sometimes we use the old school insulin where you actually have to match your carbohydrate with your insulin instead of the other way around.
Okay.
But so that's kind of, what I roughly tell people. And you might have some carbs in between too, depending. Like you might have, you might keep your snacks under 10 grams of carb, or you might, intentionally eat 15 or 30 grams of carb, depending on, like if you're active, right? If you're exercising or you're like going for a hike or something, like you're going to need some carbs.
Right.
So
because we don't want you to pass out.
Right. It just absolutely varies. And obviously, like none of this applies to adolescents, right? Like
no, this is for adults.
This is like a whole different ballgame over there.
Oh yeah,
because they eat a lot of food. So they're not eating those 60 grams of carb. No. Yeah.
So that's like in a minute.
Right.
I'm hungry again.
Yes.
Okay, so 45 to 65 grams of carbs with meals, and then snacks are somewhere 10,
could
20,
be like
30, depending on what you're doing.
0 to 30, depending on what you need.
So then, what do you think is like a good carb versus like maybe a not, when we're talking about these carbs that we want them to be good carbs.
Yeah, I mean, all your carbohydrates, whether it's whole wheat bread or it's a candy bar, like everything is broken down into sugar and enters your bloodstream, right? Mm-hmm. But the difference is the rate at which that happens, which has to do with like,
how much fiber is in there?
How much fiber and whether it's processed or not, because you can take, white bread and put some like inulin fiber in there, and then you've got more fiber. But does that work as good as like whole wheat bread or something less processed?
Like the whole thing?
I don't think so. So less processed, more fiber means it's going to take a little bit longer to enter the bloodstream.
Because it'll take longer to break down.
Right. The whole process just takes a little bit longer. And so that is good news for people who are insulin resistant, which is typically people with diabetes, because then the insulin has a chance of actually working. Right. Because the sugar is just sort of kind of dripping into the blood instead of like, bam. You drink a soda and bam, 5 minutes later, it's all in the bloodstream. And the insulin is overwhelmed and it's got no chance of getting that sugar out of there.
Yeah.
So, that's your best carbohydrate is, something that's less, not processed and has some fiber to it. So it could be whole grains, but it's also fruit. Like fruit gets a bad rap in diabetes.
It does.
It really does.
Everyone is always like, oh, I can't eat that fruit because I got the diabetes.
It's no good for me.
But is that true?
It is not.
You can eat fruit.
You can eat fruit. You should eat fruit. Fruit is good. And it has fiber. Now, if you're going to drink a glass of orange juice, that's like 16 ounces, you might as well drink a soda. It's no different to your bloodstream. But if you eat an actual orange and it's got fiber in it, it's going to slow down. It's not going to enter the bloodstream right away.
And so that does not hold true for the orange juice with pulp, okay? It's not like eating an orange.
No.
Even though it goes down like you're eating an orange. We're talking a real orange.
An actual orange, and you peel it, and you got to work for it.
Yes, you got to work for it. Yes. Yeah. So,
and also bananas, and also grapes,
yeah.
like all these
apples,
fruits. They do.
Yes. But it's okay to eat them.
You should eat them
because they have high fiber and other vitamins and minerals and nutrients.
All the good stuff that your body needs for sure. Yes, and that carbohydrate is not bad. You need to eat carbohydrate, and it should come from whole grains. It should come from fruits. It should come from dairy.
Yes.
So,
what do you think on starchy vegetables? Because I was on the American Diabetes Association website, and they have this great website with tons of information.
Yes, they do.
And they have this diabetes superfoods, and these are like foods that are good for diabetes. And so it says beans, dark green leafy vegetables, citrus fruit, like you said, sweet potatoes. I like sweet potatoes, but I thought they kind of were in that starchy food combo.
Right, they're similar to potatoes.
Right.
To me, like it's the same. It's just got extra vitamin A in it.
So
same as a potato. But when you eat the skin, you've got the fiber.
Do people eat the skin?
I do. Do
you really? Yeah. I've never done that. I should try it.
Like eat it like an actual, like a baked potato, like a baked sweet potato.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do. See, I grew up this is what I'm talking about. You eat like how your parents eat, right?
Yeah.
So my mom always just like cooked them in the oven. Then you split them open. You put some like cinnamon and sugar and some butter. Mix it all up, and then you eat the pulp. Stuff. But you're saying I should eat the whole thing. I will.
I'm saying.
Berries is on this list.
Yes.
Tomatoes, fish, of course, nuts, whole grains, milk and yogurt, and that's it. Do you agree with that list?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And the thing that's cool about berries is that, like, serving of blueberries is a cup. Okay. So, like, you take grapes, and a serving is only like 15 grapes. But a cup of blueberries has the same amount of carbohydrate. I'm like, that's a ton of blueberries, right? Yeah, I mean, besides it's expensive, but barring that. So, if you're counting your carbohydrates, which is great because then it's just like checking your blood sugar. It's information. So you can decide, it's like living on a budget. You've got a carbohydrate budget, and you decide like, well, I really want to eat some cake or ice cream or something, and you allow for it. In your carbohydrate budget. Yeah, it's.
But your cake piece has to be normal.
Well, right. I mean, you have to, if you're counting carbs, you can't just call any old piece of, cake the same amount.
Cake piece.
It's a cupcake. That's 15 grams.
Do you know, I like cupcakes better than cake because it's like my own personal little cake. That's why I like them. Plus, like, it's like, this is all I'm going to eat.
Right, it's all like portioned out.
So a cupcake is 15 grams. If you're going to eat the cupcake, you have to take 15 grams off of what you were eating before. That makes sense, people.
Yeah. And then you got another 15 if you're going to have frosting on top.
Oh, geez. Then you can't eat your carb at dinner, and you just get to eat your protein and your fat, and then your cupcake is your carb.
Perhaps. Well, if you're going to have 45 to 60, you still have.
Unless you're going to exercise.
Right.
Then you can eat the cupcake. But you got to add on the exercise. So there's more ways than treating diabetes than medicine, right?
I mean, hopefully that's where you start. Is
lifestyle modification.
Lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you need to be exercising. Do you know that they say that when you have high blood pressure and diabetes, if you can lose 10% of your weight, 10%. So someone who is 300 pounds, that would be 30 pounds. That really isn't a daunting number, 30 pounds. That is enough to bring your blood sugar and your blood pressure down towards normal ranges. Sometimes it's enough to bring it down into normal ranges, but a lot of times it's more like 20%. And then you will become back to normal. So if you don't want to take the medicine, you've got to do the work. Okay, right? And sometimes if your blood sugar is really high, I might start people on medicine and say, this is our weight goal. And then that will be the goal for you to get off your medicine too.
Right. You don't have to stay on the medicine just because
No.
you start on it. Like, you can still get off of it.
No.
It's not a done deal.
But diabetes, I always tell everyone, diabetes does not kill you today.
Right.
It's 10 years from now, or
Mhm.
20 years from now, or 30 years from now. And it's not like it's the slow killer, right? It takes your eyesight.
Right, one organ at a time.
It takes your feet feelings, your hands feelings. It gives you heart attacks. Hey, fellas, are you listening? It takes your erectile function. Yeah. If your blood sugar is high, it's not going to be working anymore. Sorry. It just does all this stuff over a lifetime.
Right. Which is why you can't freak out about one high blood sugar. Like,
right.
You should look at trends and you should pay attention and be on top of it. But don't freak out if, like, one time you have a high blood sugar.
Yeah.
You're fine.
That's true. Yeah. I don't get a lot of people when they get diabetes in the beginning, I find they become obsessed with, but this one was high.
Yeah.
Well, what did you eat?
Right.
Like, that's why it was high. Now we know that when you eat the pizza or the cake or the Chinese food, it's going to be high.
Yeah.
So now we know that we need to eat less of that stuff.
Right. Do it less often, or figure out how to,
your volume, your portion size is less, or whatever. So lifestyle modifications. The other thing is, not just changing your diet, but also your exercise. You need to be exercising. And the recommendation now is 30 to 60 minutes most days of the week. Which I know everyone's busy. Everyone's busy. We all have kids. We all have full-time jobs. We're all busy. You don't have to do it all at once. You can do it multiple times during the day. 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 10 minutes there. You know what? You can throw the ball and tell your kid to go get it, and then you can chase them. 10 minutes. It's all you need.
Right. You do that with your dog too.
You can. I do that with my dog all the time, but then she looks at me and she's like, why are you chasing the ball too? No, just kidding. But she would like beat me to the ball.
Right.
So yeah, you'll also increase your speed and endurance.
So it should be fun. Something that feels purposeful at least.
Yeah.
Fun would be great. Enjoyable would be great, but at least purposeful. Like,
yes.
And it's not torture. If it's torture, you gotta look for something else.
Yeah. And you're not gonna stay with it if it's torture. So what is I'm not I used to love the gym. I used to love it. But I just can't get there. So I always have to do things that are part of my life. I have to work it into something that I normally am doing. Whether that's taking a stress relieving walk or riding a bicycle or, whatever. Something to get me active. But it doesn't necessarily have to be in the gym. Sometimes I just lift my kids, and that's like called my weightlifting.
Yeah.
I do bicep curls. I teach my son how to do push-ups.
There you go.
Anyways, so what is like some simple diet changes that somebody can make right off the bat that are from when you have diagnosed with diabetes?
So, and this is the same for if you're at risk for diabetes. Like if your doctor says
pre-diabetes,
or even if it's in your family and you're worried, like these are things that you should look at.
That's like that. So pre-diabetes is 105 to 125. But I actually always tell people 100 to 125 just because, like, when you're at 100, guess what? You're really close to 105.
Yeah.
So
not that different.
You're moving into that. So that's pre-diabetes. Pre-diabetes. That means that within the next 5 to 10 years, you will have diabetes. Yes. So what can we do at that?
So
something simple.
Right. So when you're diagnosed or you're at risk and you're pre-diabetes, the very first thing is to look at your drinks, right? That is like
soda.
Yeah. The lowest hanging fruit is your drinks.
Yeah.
So definitely soda, juice, anything that has sugar in it. I mean, it might be your coffee if you're getting one of those mocha latte, whatever.
Every single day or twice a day or 5 times a day.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I'm not talking about like putting like a little sprinkle of sugar in. I'm talking about those like, Frappuccino things. Yeah.
the tablespoon of sugar in your drink.
Yeah. If it's liquid candy, then you have to do some work on that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean like that you should that you have to cut out all the sugar in your drinks, or that you have to go to diet, or there's no one set way that you have to do it, but you have to make a change.
Right.
If you're overdoing any of that stuff, you should definitely start there, because to me that's the easiest thing. Like, they're not, maybe you need the caffeine, but you're not filling up your stomach. It's not like you're gonna
sugar load.
It's not like you're gonna be hungry if you
Right.
cut out your soda or your
Right.
whatever.
People are like, man, try to take their soda away.
I realize that. I say
are.
that like, oh, that's so easy, but I'm not saying it's easy. It's a simple thing, but for a lot of people, it's not
easy.
But there are ways. So,
but it's one of those easy choices. It's just difficult to do.
It's difficult to do,
Yeah.
and it's going to make the biggest impact. Like, if you're drinking a lot of soda, like, great news. When you decrease that, you're going to be all set.
Yeah, you might be
for
normal.
a while. Yeah, you can ride that one for a while.
Yeah,
before you have to do anything else.
Yeah.
So you might decrease the amount. Either you go from bottles to cans, so from 20 ounce to 12 ounce.
Yeah.
Maybe you get them less often during the day. Maybe you switch to diet. Maybe you switch to something else. But you make some sort of progressive change. You don't have to just go, okay, no more. I can't drink soda anymore, and then you're just like, that's not going to work. Probably. Yeah, you're gonna be crazy.
I'm not a fan of diet soda.
I'm not sure it's a great solution, but it might be a stepping stone.
It is a stepping stone, but I think the goal should be to get off of the soda altogether.
Yeah.
But it is a stepping stone.
Yeah, I don't think it's a solution to be drinking a whole bunch of diet soda in your day. I cannot recommend that.
Did you know that dark sodas, they're linked to pancreatitis and pancreatic cancer? There you go. That should be a deterrent.
Yeah, nobody wants pancreatic cancer. Pretty sure.
But anyways.
So that's the one thing. The very first thing is your sodas. And then the next thing is looking at, like, what's one big thing that you could do differently? Like, do you eat really large portions of anything? Like, do you walk away from the table feeling stuffed? Yeah. Do you
do you eat a lot of white pasta? You could switch it over.
Right. Or eat less.
You
could eat less of it. You can eat pasta, but you shouldn't eat a whole plate of it. You should eat a reasonable portion, and it should be in proportion with vegetables and some protein source.
Yes. And you can switch from white pasta to wheat pasta. And when you do that, you'll find that you're not eating as much because it has a whole lot more fiber in it. And so you'll also not get as hungry as quick afterwards.
Right. So it's got that satisfaction, the fullness factor and the satisfaction. So it kind of gets you full and then sustain you.
The taste is a little bit different, but I think it's easy to get used to. I mean, my kids are used to wheat pasta now, and they don't complain. So, and
I usually tell people, try a couple of brands, because some people like Barilla and some people like the store brand or whatever. Yeah. It just varies. Yeah. What else?
Any other good ones?
Yeah. So that's so you look at, like, are you eating too often? Like, you're eating large meals, or your snacks have turned into meals, or that the proportions aren't right, like you're not eating any fruits or vegetables in your day, or are your meals often out? If you eat, several times a week out somewhere, even if it's not fast food. If it's fast food, for sure, you should address that. But even if it's not, that's not the same as stuff you would make at home. So if you can decrease
and the portion sizes, have, like, I read an article recently that the portion sizes at restaurants have just doubled and tripled, and they're what we used to get when I was little and what we get now. It's way different.
And how often do you bring it home? It's like, you mostly just eat it.
But you can't, and you can't bring those salads home because they get yucky the next day.
Right. Some things really don't translate to being.
But then is it good to bring your mashed potatoes and chicken fingers
and eat it a second meal?
Yeah.
Hard to say.
Hard to say. So, but you can work at it by cutting your portions.
You could share.
That's a good idea. And then you also save yourself some money. Yeah. You just both have to agree on what you're eating.
Yes, there's that. Yeah. So there are lots of ways to address even just the eating out issue. Like, can you go out less often? Can you make better choices? Can you go to a different place? Yeah. Can you share? Can you bring some home? Like, there's not one way that you have to do it, but think about making a change, because the thing about diabetes is that, your lifestyle has contributed to,
the
getting
diagnosis,
it.
the disease itself. The other thing that I always tell people is, if you're trying to work in exercise and stuff, is to park as far away as you can in the parking lot. So you have to walk. My mom, she's like, will you stop doing that? Why? She's like, you have 3 kids now. And I'm like, yeah, now I got more weightlifting than I'm doing the whole way out. The other thing is that you can walk the stairs instead of the elevator.
For sure.
When I come out of the grocery store, a lot of times if you see me, especially when I have my daughter with me, we actually do like dumbbell curls with the bag all the way to the car. You get like 10 dumbbell curls in with that.
Yes.
That's like way more weight than you would ever do, and it's 10 dumbbell curls all the way to the car.
Yeah.
So, there's all kinds of ways to get stuff in, little exercise that's more than what you were doing before.
Right. The whole thing is like, you 30, 60 minutes most days. That's the target.
Goal.
That's the goal. But like, if you just need to start somewhere, start anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
You could sit on a ball at work. Sometimes I tell people to do that, or get a standing desk, or, there's these things that are sort of like pedals for your feet.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little something, or take breaks.
Something. Yes.
I think we've talked about that before. Like, there's people going out for smoke breaks.
It's an exercise break.
Go walk around.
Just say it's your smoke break.
Right. And if you live in a building, or you work in a building with multiple floors, you take the stairs. Yeah.
You can bum 1 cigarette for your smoke break, and you can pick it up and walk out with it, and you can use that cigarette for the whole rest of your life. As that one cigarette for your smoke break, so that outside. You can go exercise. Yes. You don't even have to smoke it.
Got my cigarette.
They don't know.
That's great.
Yeah, you just put it in your. They don't know. You smell great after all of your smoke breaks. Well, if you didn't work up, if you're not funky, but you won't smell like cigarettes. Yeah. So, anyways, there you go. All right. So, any other last thoughts?
Yeah. Only just, think about making progress. Like you're turning in towards progress. That's all. You don't need to either do it or not do it. It's like you just need to change one little thing. You can't
start at the finish line. You have to start at the starting line, and you have to keep going.
And how long did it take you to get where you're at?
Right.
It didn't happen overnight.
No.
So you're not going to turn it around overnight.
No. The other thing is, when you get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, when you're diagnosed, you need to get your eyes checked.
Ooh,
and the reason is that you have, like she said, you did not get here overnight. And so you may already have some changes in your eyes. So you need to get a formal eye exam at that point. But yes, you're like the turtle. Be the turtle. Slow and steady, right? It always wins the race.
That's right.
Because the rabbit falls asleep somewhere. Anyways. Okay, so what are we going to talk about next time?
Oh, gosh.
Do we even have our list?
Yes, we have our list.
Okay, good.
Future topics. So,
what
do you think? It's getting, we're going to have to add some more things here. Maybe,
what?
I was going to say the fish thing.
Yeah,
it's kind of,
the Geiger counter. Let's, okay, so we're going to talk about healthy fish next time. Do we need a Geiger counter? We don't know. We'll find out. And you will too next time. So hopefully it'll be on Tuesday, but just so that you know, we might have some schedule changes this
coming September
month, just because of things that are happening. But we'll keep you posted, and you can always still find our videos on Facebook. And also you can search for both of us on YouTube, because we also have them on YouTube, and you can check us out on YouTube, and you can subscribe, because we have goals for 1,000 subscribers. That's what we're hoping for. So you can always
start somewhere.
Yes. That's what my daughter said.
Yeah.
You know, Mom, none of those big YouTubers, do you think they started out with 1,000? And I said, no.
With 1.
She goes, guess where they started out? 0. Just like you.
Very inspiring.
Yeah, she'd give me a little pep talk. So anyways, we are both of us have YouTube pages, but we put our videos on both of our pages. So feel free.
And our websites.
And on our websites and on our Facebook. So if you have a question of where all that information is, you can always ask. So like I said, fish next time. If you have any questions on this topic or want more information or you want us to talk about this a little bit more, then please say something and we will do that. Yeah. If you have ideas for future topics also, we add them to our list and we need some more for our list. So please help us with that. So anyways, have a good rest of your day. Good luck to all the people all the little kiddos going to school this week. And we will see you next week. Adios.